What if the choices you make today could ensure you or your loved ones live with dignity, independence, and peace of mind tomorrow? We're talking about more than just financial planning. This is about living life on your terms, no matter what challenges come your way. In today's episode, we're diving into the world of personal independence with two incredible guests who are making it easier for people to navigate life's transitions with grace and confidence. Stay tuned as we chat with Cynthia from MyDignity and Michelle from Mobility Solutions Now.
Wake up, it's time to rise. Talking money with sharp insight. Jim and Ryan here to guide. Mastering the money ride. Saving stacks and planning dreams. Living large by honest means. Tune in now for the schemes. Breaking down financial themes. Money mindset every day.
Well, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Money Mindset and Mastery podcast. My name is Jim. I'm your host, and joining me today, as always, is my partner in crime and co-host, Ryan Genoe. Ryan, how are you today?
Wonderful. After celebrating, obviously, the Thanksgiving weekend with everybody and just having some great conversations with some people. And I think part of those conversations included what we're going to talk about today, which is often a tough conversation because we often have tough conversations, Jim, with a lot of clients. And it's the preparing for what's next, especially as our family ages. And it doesn't have to be age-based, but I think that's one of the things that often scares people, to have these open dialogues. And of course, we brought somebody in that is quite familiar with having awkward conversations for a lot of families. So yeah, let's kick it off.
Yeah, absolutely. So today's topic is empowering choices, navigating independence and dignity in today's world with MyDignity and Mobility Solutions Now. Now, our host, or our other host, George, mentioned that Michelle is going to be joining us today from Mobility Solutions Now. Unfortunately, and this is what happens with live shows, sometimes things go a little bit sideways from a technology point of view, and Michelle will not be able to join us today, but we do have Cynthia from MyDignity. Cynthia, thank you very much for joining us today. How are you?
My pleasure, and thank you for having me. And I'm so very proud that the two of you take the responsibility to have these important conversations as educators to those that you serve. And also, I just want to take the moment to say I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We really do have a lot to be thankful for.
I agree. Well, we're again very thankful that you've joined us today, and this is a very important topic that we want to talk about today. As Ryan mentioned, sometimes there's some conversations that happen over the holidays, and some are, well, hopefully most of them are fun in nature, but then there's some family matters that have to be addressed, and one of them that has come up, and I know in my family it has for sure, is aging parents and some challenges with having aging or parents that are aging and getting older, and you notice a change in them. Sometimes it's medical, sometimes it's from a mental point of view. I'm seeing it with, my mom, who, God bless her, 75 years old, doing really well. But my stepdad today just turned 88 years old. And I've seen a bit of a change in him as well over the last few years, specifically from a mobility point of view. So what we want to talk about is, how do we provide our parents that dignity to be able to stay home for as long as they possibly can as they age, as their health changes. And there are solutions to assist our loving parents and our family members. Some of the solutions are, again, going out and purchasing mobility aids, and that's where Michelle would have come in and spoke to that whole process and the cost behind it. But what we do know is there is a significant cost in purchasing mobility aids or making changes to a family member's home so they can stay in their home longer and avoid having to go to a care facility. So this is where MyDignity comes in. It's a program that Ryan and I have been offering for over 2 years now. And I've always been a believer that it's always cheaper to have an insurance company pay for taxes and certain costs and whatever else instead of having to pay for it out of pocket, right? So, Cynthia, let's start off with maybe you providing or giving us a background on yourself and also introducing MyDignity. How did that come about? What is it? And then we'll go from there.
Certainly. Thank you. Thank you. Well, my passion comes from the fact that I spent 25 years ago, and I'm going to be telling my age now, spent 25 years ago, a decade working in the long-term care arena across our country. I was part of a special care resource team that would have to go in and find unique ways to change the medical model, because the medical model at that time, in terms of dealing with somebody who might have had a physical deficit or a cognitive deficit, was usually utilizing either physical restraints or chemical restraints. So we needed to change the system to give people back the dignity and control that they so desire and deserve. So at that time, we started coming up with different ways to modify the environment to make people who had these deficits, be it physical or cognitive, much more able to be independent. And that was the start of basically my passion about taking this a step further, because even 25 years ago, it became very apparent that our system, our healthcare system, wasn't preparing to take care of the challenges that we are facing. We are an aging population, and that's okay, but we have to take steps to prepare for that. And some of it comes from preparation independently, putting the onus of responsibility on oneself so that they don't become a burden to those that they love, and that they can maintain their dignity and independence for as long as possible. So good fortune came my way, where I had the opportunity to work with another individual, Miles Posner, who's been in the insurance industry, much of a legend for over the last 40 years. And we had the opportunity to develop what was truly a gap in our system, be it both the insurance industry and also the healthcare system. Because let's face it, when things change for people, and they will, the warranty, unfortunately, wears out on the parts. Just like machines, humans are sort of the same way, right? And also, living's dangerous to our health, right? So we have to make preparation, because I think when you do have a healthcare strategy, and that's what the MyDignity platform is, it's a healthcare strategy to help give you and your loved one's direction so that you make the best possible decisions as opposed to the worst decisions when you don't have a plan. Because in my experience now of almost 35 years with this, that's what happens. If you don't have a plan and you don't walk through that door when it's open to make sure you do have a plan, then it's a very difficult hole to dig out of. And also the change in the relationships that people have because of the stress load is just astronomical. And I beg you not to do that to your family and your loved ones. There's no need for that. Talk to the experts, talk to Jim, talk to Ryan. They will explain the type of healthcare strategy that's easy to acquire, no medical, it's got tax advantages. It's a pennies on the dollar approach to ensuring that you have a path for dignified and quality care going forward, especially in your own home. People don't want to go into a facility. Number one, the waiting list for beds is astronomical. In Ontario alone, it's a 30,000 person deep waiting period, and you cannot be finicky about the accommodation that might be offered to you, because if you're not happy with it, you will go to the back of the line, and it simply carries on. So the best plan, I think, and I think Jim and Ryan will concur when they're talking to you about your own planning and what you and your loved ones have put in place, the best plan is to have a plan. And that's what we want to talk about today, a home care healthcare strategy.
Yeah, when you said about warranty expiring, that hit a nerve, because I just found out on a Thursday that I'm headed for a hip revision surgery in December. So I'm
Oh,
like, I get it. I should have bought extended warranty for myself. But the bottom line is, there's also evidence that people who are recovering at home or living at home tend to recover better, live longer, as opposed to going to a facility care place. And then there's different levels of facility care, right? They're the ones who can afford the $10,000 a month and stay at more like a resort style place. Most people can't really afford that. And I've known family members who didn't have the funds to go to the high level facility care places, and I have to tell you, it was sad to see their living conditions. They're not all horrible. They're not all bad. That's not what we're saying. But I could say specifically with one of my family members, my grandmother, she kept begging to come home. She really wanted to be home. And at the time, had we known that this program was available, we would have purchased it, and we would have been able to put in the tools at home for her to be taken care of and not having to go to a facility ultimately, right? And I think, Ryan, you've had some experiences as well in your family where it's become a bit of an issue. I don't know if you want to share some of your experiences.
Well, I think that comes down to really like looking at your family or perhaps grandparents, depending on your age, who's going to take care of them, right? And where does that burden lie, especially if your family member wants to stay at home? And do they have the right resources, money in particular, to make sure that the house is updated, to bring in a personal care worker, and what is going to be the effect on your family? So at all levels, whether you're the parent looking at who's going to take care of you in your older age, are you looking to your children to do so? How does that impact their life and their schedule? Are they capable of doing it? You know, being able to lift your parents out of the tub, out of bed, being able to dress them, and what does that look like? I know it's kind of the circle of life. We we come into life in diapers and we go out in diapers, but you know, what does that look like for you and your family? And if you haven't thought about it, it it can have a real impact on the family dynamic. Um, you know, for yourself, having a say in who takes care of you, whether it's your own family or that you're going to get professionals that do this on a day to day basis. I think it's all things that we hope we never hit that point. But the reality is, there is an aging population right now that I don't know if they really understand the impact of the strain and stress that is going to happen on the health care system. Right? We're already starting. We have the largest number of people hitting that 65 to 75 age range, and they're only going to get older. Unless we found the fountain of youth, along with our Amazon order of the crystal ball, it's something I think can, and I have seen it, tear families apart and create a serious divide. So that's why, having so many family members around at one time, it was important to hear those conversations were starting to happen and take away some of the taboo about talking about aging, the taboos of who's going to take care of you, and what does that care look like. And as you've said, Cynthia, when it comes to MyDignity, it's about putting that choice on yourself and your family. And I think it's a really important step for a lot of families to start having this conversation. I know my mom would love to just be sent off onto a cruise ship and travel the world and allow everything to take place. But I think the reality is that depending on your family history, my family's had, times of dementia and Parkinson's and things like that. That's a lot for the family to take on, and sometimes it's one or two members that take it on that creates a rift within the family because everybody wants their say. So have your say now, while you can. So
I think it's having the
Yeah.
say and planning for it,
Yeah.
right? I know in my family, I'll use me as the example. I'm the oldest of three. And my mother, as I mentioned to Cynthia earlier, my stepdad turned 88 years old today. It's his birthday today. So happy birthday to my stepdad, Joe.
Happy
And
birthday.
yeah, and thankfully, he has my mom to take care of him. My mom is 75 years old, and I'm starting to see a shift. And the plan has always been that out of the three siblings, that if Joe predeceases my mom, and chances are he will, based on the age difference and his current health, that my mom would then ultimately live with my wife and I, because we have a bungalow and we have a walkout basement, fully finished apartment downstairs. So it just naturally would make sense for her to come live with me as the oldest, and having that space. Because my younger siblings, they have young families and they have two-story homes and they don't have quite the space that I do. But recently, that conversation has changed a little bit because, again, I need my hip replaced. This is a revision surgery. I had it done 7 years ago. I'm going in again. I had open heart surgery unexpectedly 5 years ago. Like, my health at age 51 is very different. So now the conversation is, guys, as much as I would love for mom to move in with us, I might not be able to physically take care of her because of my own physical limitations. So what do we do? Right. And that's where we turn to programs like MyDignity, because there is a cost associated with it. Or we turn to individuals like Michelle and his wife, Diana, who assist with the medical aids that we would potentially need. But I really want to focus today on the cost and how to fund some of those expenses. And I think what people first need to realize too is you have to purchase the insurance before the event happens. Once the event has happened, you can't buy the insurance to cover those expenses. At that point, it's too late. That's why it's insurance. And in terms of the My Dignity program, a child can purchase it, or children can purchase it on behalf of their parents, right? Cynthia, is that a
Yeah,
possibility?
absolutely. That happens all of the time, actually.
Right. So it is a way of protecting the children in many ways by having the program. And I'm just going to use a round number, $100,000. And you can easily get to $100,000 when you're dealing with these challenges. Again, I wish Michelle was able to join us, because I think he had said that if you need a hospital bed, for example, you're looking at minimum 15, 16 to $20,000 just for the hospital bed. And that's in addition to other things that you might need. But you can either pay the $100,000 out of pocket to cover those expenses, or if you had paid even $50,000 in premium to the insurance company and they paid out the $100,000 for the example, it only costs you $50,000 for that 100. So it's cheaper in that sense, right? I know with Michelle, he has financing options if you need to finance some of the purchases. Bottom line is that's going to cost you more than the $100,000 in this example, because now you got to tack on interest on top of that. And ultimately, someone has to pay that bill when mom or dad pass away, and it's going to come from the estate. If mom or dad are looking to pay those expenses out of pocket, that might be money that they need to live off of as well. So now they have less money to fund their day-to-day expenses, right? So Cynthia, why don't you maybe share with the people, how does My Dignity work? What does it cover? So maybe you can share some of those details
Sure.
with the people.
Sure. So, as we mentioned earlier, the primary focus of the My Dignity plan is to ensure that people have the resources to be able to stay in their own home. And own home means anywhere other than a nursing home. You might be living in the home of your child, as an example, or you might be living in an assisted living facility, but still living very independently. Okay, that is all home. Now, the beauty of the home care plan is that it provides dollars in terms of reimbursement for various services, supplies, and equipment that people are going to need. Some of the very key things that people will require when either, something changes for them physically, and it can be in a short-term situation. So, for example, Jim, your hip surgery, you're going to recover from that after a period of time. But in the interim, you will be able to have the assistance of somebody who's qualified to care for you. You'll be able to order meals from your favorite restaurant. If your wife is unable to travel with you to medical appointments, the plan will pay for that. It will pay for various aids that Michelle and Diana will be able to provide from their organization, again, to help you regain your mobility and return to a healthy recovery just that much faster. So having a plan gives you direction. You're not in a panic mode when the unthinkable happens, because if it were predictable, we'd have a crystal ball and we'd buy the home care plan the day before something's going to change, right? But that isn't the way it works. We need to walk through the door when the door is open, and that door is fairly easy to walk through. There's no process where we're going to have to be reamed, streamed, and dry cleaned to get this coverage. As long as the individual is able to genuinely respond favorably to a few health questions, and they're all very obvious. I mean, 95% of Canadians can qualify, and anybody age 18 to 80 anywhere in this country, as long as they haven't turned 81, can still get this plan. And I'm happy to say I know a lot of happy 80-year-olds because, number one, they can actually afford it. Number two, they can qualify for it. And the peace of mind that it gives them to not be in a position where they might be a burden to their family, to their loved ones, is really invaluable. So we need to walk through that door when the door is open.
I think the burden conversation that you just mentioned, I again witnessed it this weekend with driving my stepdad and my mom to my sister's out in Bolton. It's about an hour and 15-minute drive from where I live. And he has a full-time air or oxygen mask on. He has a difficult time getting up and down stairs. And the whole time he just kept apologizing. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. And it was just like, this isn't your fault. This is life. This is aging. Like, there's no need to apologize. But I can understand being the person on the other side, again, recovering from hip surgery and not being able to do anything for 6 weeks, that you do feel as a burden onto your family because now they're taking care of you. And they will always say, not a problem. And it usually isn't, but it's not ideal, right?
No.
To be able to hire someone, to be able to afford to hire someone privately to come in and assist, to give the family member even a break, like they need that mental break. They need that physical break. It's so important. So I think that's where the MyDignity program really helps out. And then the other one too is, I remember the first time I had my hip surgery 7 years ago, I was shocked in terms of what they told me I had to go and get in preparation for my recovery, right? It was, well, you have to buy a walker, and it had to be a certain type of walker. I had to have a cane. I had to have a seat riser for the bathroom, right? Again, these are things you don't think about until they tell you. These are things you need to recover properly, and there were other aids that I needed on top of that, right? So these expenses really creep up fast, and they're very unexpected. And again, they're very expensive. And you don't want to go, I hate to say it, to the local Shoppers Drug Mart to purchase these things. You want to deal with a professional who can, provide you with the right type of equipment, give you advice on what's best for your situation. And that's where Michelle and Diana would come in. And the MyDignity would be the program that would help fund those expenses or cover some of those costs. Correct?
Sorry, answer that question first, Cynthia.
Yes. So is that correct?
Oh, 100%. I mean, the thing that we're really talking about here is making sure that we, even if family members are informal caregivers, please love and respect them enough and empower them to be the care manager and not the caregiver, because they don't know how. They could hurt themselves, they could hurt you, and they simply don't have that knowledge. Allow yourself to be able to hire somebody that you like, who's going to come to your home at the time you need them to come and do the things that need to be done. Can we rely on government, as an example, to help in that situation? There may be some benefits, but you're not in control of it, and it's not something you can count on. And most often, it's not something you can rely on. You may not like the person. It may not be the same person coming each and every time. Why, in this day and age, in our society of affluence, even put yourself in that position for pennies? Don't do it, please. So this is what MyDignity brings to the table, is these resources to give people that freedom and the flexibility to choose what they need to protect everyone, to protect the insured, to protect the loved ones that might be involved in the caregiving process. All of those benefits are there. Make sure that you and your family have a plan for that.
The one thing I was going to add, which you guys kind of alluded to, but I wanted to clarify too, because it's sometimes not clear. Often we're talking about age as like people that are older, but as you just said, Jim, like, you were 45 or something like that when you got this knee surgery. So just imagine
Hip surgery.
Hip surgery. Sorry,
Yeah.
my apologies.
Knees are eventually are coming as well, but
Uh-oh.
They're still slightly under warranty. Slightly.
listen. I tell my wife Carol, even though I'm 51 years old, a lot of my internal parts are now like 20 because they're all getting replaced. So
Yeah.
I'm her barn find.
The new
So-
bionic man.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
We'll have to play music when you enter the room. But that age piece is important for families and people to know, which is, God forbid you have a hip surgery at 30 or some sort of major surgery, because the My Dignity program starts at as early as age 18. So, something were to happen, for a family member taking that time off work to care for another family member, again, the physical strain, the mental strain, and instead having somebody in there to be a professional, to get the tools that you need to get your son or daughter, child to a place that they're able to start being functioning again, is an important piece to this. So I think people are always thinking, and even when we talked 2 years ago, I was thinking, you have to be 65 and above to look at something like this. But this is something that all families at all different ages, starting at age 18, can consider. Because as we know with insurance, any type of insurance, it's cheaper when you're young. So it's just a part of that planning piece. I just wanted to mention because you guys talked about it. So
Yeah, and even from a planning point of view, when Ryan and I work on retirement plans, one of the things that we do say is, well, here are your assets that you're counting on to live off of to fund your lifestyle, which could be another 25, 30 years for a lot of people. And if all of a sudden you're dealing with some of these challenges, again, to access those resources, you're taken away now because it's going to be very difficult to recover. You can't go and work anymore to earn that $100,000 if you had to, right? You're now working off of limited resources when you are older. And it is part of a way that we suggest that people can maintain their retirement lifestyle by, again, not having to dip into those assets to fund some of these expenses that are going to happen to more people than not. And I think, Cynthia, you and I talked about this before recording. I said that part of the challenge, I think, is people, for whatever reason, believe it's not going to happen to me, or it's not going to happen to mom and dad. They're in their 70s and they seem to be healthy and it's not going to be an issue. But it happens fast. Like that tipping point really happens fairly quickly, right? So it is, I think, something to Ryan's point, think about it sooner rather than later. So really, when should people start talking about this? When should people start considering a program like MyDignity? And how is MyDignity different than other programs that might be out there, long-term care, for example, insurance, that I think is not really being offered anymore by any major carrier? So can you maybe speak to that a little bit, Cynthia?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we've really come to the front of the marketplace, in the sense that not only is it about where people want to remain in their own home, but all the insurance carriers have exited the long-term care marketplace. Okay.
And
Now,
why is that?
Well, there's a couple of reasons, actually. The uptake was very limited because the products were extremely expensive. Okay. and the underwriting process in order to acquire those benefits was antiquated, to say the least. Like at some point, everybody has issues in their life. And the fact that minor issues could actually preclude someone from doing this important planning was almost unforgivable. So I am so grateful that MyDignity was able to step in and be the filler of that gap in our system. And to Ryan's point, this doesn't necessarily mean this is old person insurance, because anything can happen to anyone at any time. Many people live alone today, geographically or apart from their families, and they don't have anyone to rely on, nor would they want to be. Give them a pennies on the dollar affordable plan for which they're going to get a tax receipt and enjoy a non-taxable benefit for all these different services, supplies, and equipment that they're going to need when that something that they can't predict happens. A fracture, a sports injury because you're trying to keep yourself fit. It could be a surgery, just like what Jim's about to undergo, or it could be something more long-term, like a cognitive issue, right? And the good thing about this plan, once one triggers the home care plan, you don't even have to worry about paying premium. The premium's waived. And it's your own doctor, not the insurance company's doctor, that indicates on a claim form what's befallen you and the fact that you need the assistance of another person. So that really is and should be a comfort to any insured and their families, right? This is something that we've designed to not only help individuals, but make our society a better place. And the good news is once people are aware that there is a wealth preservation tool such as this for our health, for our future healthcare, it's becomes a no-brainer to people, and they want to share it with other people. And I want to see that happen more and more, because the onus that it is really upon us. And you can either make that an easy path or the most difficult path and risk losing somebody that you love because of the aggravation that not having a plan causes.
So you mentioned as well, so for an individual, they can claim the premium against their medical tax credit. For a self-employed individual or incorporated individual, are these tax deductible expenses for the?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. CRA recognizes the very clever plan design of the MyDignity Home Care Assistance as what they call a PHSP, a private health services plan. It's really an insurance-backed health plan, right? But this particular plan is the gap filler to the other health plans that are out there, because there really are no other health plans that are going to pay for a personal support worker, that are going to pay for meals from your favorite restaurant, that are going to pay for respite care, that is going to provide psychological support to informal caregivers, that is going to give you substantial dollars for physiotherapy care in your own home. I mean, it's just I think something that's very logical. And I think once that people are educated about what they have to do and why they need to do it, it really becomes something that gives them a newfound peace of mind about the future. The future is scary, and we're facing a broken system.
Now, I've never asked you this before, so I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot right now, but can this be purchased under a group model? So if an employer wants to provide this to their employees, is that an option?
Absolutely. And we see that happening more and more. We recently were approached by the Ontario Medical Association. These are our frontline workers who have indicated that they understand the problems with the system and they want a plan in place to protect against it. If there is no more ringing endorsement than that. We have a number of organizations, millions of members deep, that have come forward saying we need to offer this to people so that people have a strategy going forward for their future healthcare and be in control of that process.
So just so people understand, and to be clear, this isn't a disability insurance program. This isn't a critical illness insurance program like you traditionally would see through a group plan. This is for in-home care. It is very separate. I just don't want people to misunderstand because they kind of sometimes will confuse those different type of programs. So it can be offered through a group plan. So that's fantastic. So I know Ryan and I are now working with some groups, and I think this would be something that they should be considering for their employees as well.
Absolutely. And it's very common for employers to offer to their key people, whoever, however they want to define that, the maximum amount of coverage, and perhaps to that individual spouse as well. So the maximum amount of coverage between a couple would be $250,000 tax-free dollars, of which, to get the same net effect for their future health care, they wouldn't be depleting the 500,000 after-tax dollars that would be required to get the same net effect. So it's a very, very powerful tool to show the loyalty and appreciation that those people provide to these business organizations. And it's not just an increase in income that's frequently taxed at 50%.
Right. So if an employee leaves the employer for whatever reason, can they take that policy with them as long as they pay for it themselves? Is that a possibility? Do we know?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So while an individual may be under the employ of a business or a corporation, and the corporation doesn't need to own the policy, the individual can own their own policy, but the corporation during that period of service will pay the premium if they so choose. But the policy is fully portable. And when the person takes it on personally, they simply would change the banking over to their personal checking account.
So it's very different than your traditional disability or critical illness coverage because
Totally.
it's not portable, right?
Right.
So again, I don't want people to misunderstand. This isn't to replace those products. It's a different type of coverage, but it is something that you can continue on with if you have it under a group plan. It is portable. You can take it outside of that. So that's wonderful. Ryan, is there any other questions that you have for Cynthia before we let people know how they can find out more information about the MyDignity home care plan?
What age does it go to?
It's a lifetime benefit. As long as we've purchased the plan before we turn age 81, okay, it's a lifetime benefit. I would not wait till the latter stages of life because, as Jim so aptly put it, and we've all been working with people for many, many years, things can change very quickly. And really the best advice, please walk through that door when the door is open. There is no other insurance-oriented healthcare plan out there that will have the number of claims that this plan will have, right? If you hold your life insurance, a permanent plan to the end, 100% it's going to pay out. Today in our country alone, the statistics is that somebody 65 and up is currently, there's 75% of those people, 3 out of 4 of us, requiring some form of extended care. So this is real. We're human. We're fragile.
Yeah, for sure.
Except for Jim. Jim's going to be robotic soon. So, but,
Exactly.
but yeah, well, obviously lots of people are interested. So for us, go to TVH, tvhfinancial.ca, and under there is our home care plan under one of the tabs. So I know people are eager. Obviously, Jim, you're going to share it again as we kind of wrap up too. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we are wrapping it up. So yeah, go to tvhfinancial.ca. You will find the home care tab, and under there you will see the MyDignity home care program. There's a little short video that I think is a powerful video. There's a bit of an introduction by our friend George, and then after that, the MyDignity video comes in, and there's some personal experiences, stories that are shared in that video. So quite powerful. It'll provide you with some basic information on the program itself. But then if you click the Learn More button, that'll take you to the quoting page. It's an anonymous quoting page. So if you even want to get an understanding of what the cost might be associated with it, I would encourage you to do that. Do it for your mom, do it for your dad, do it for yourself. Take a look. And if you require more information, then obviously reach out to Ryan and I. We'd be more than happy to walk you through the program itself. So I think we are gonna wrap things up. So Cynthia, I really appreciate you joining us today. This has been wonderful. We had some technical difficulties. Unfortunately, we couldn't get Michelle on this time around. So hopefully we will get him on another episode with you.
But note that you can watch a previous episode of ours, Mobility and Independence, Improving Lives with Michelle, so you can get some insight of some of the things that he would have talked about today, about the costs that that people don't realize when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to putting things in your own home.
Yeah, for sure. So Ryan, how can people find us?
Financial at tvhgroup.ca. Otherwise, 416-628-8140.
That's our main line. That's not TVH Financial's line.
That's the main line. They can hold us.
Our line is 647-727-4668. And that'll get you through to Ryan and myself. So almost, Ryan. Oh, I'll give you an 80% this time around.
All right. Still pass.
Yeah. Well, listen, we had a wonderful time, Cynthia. Once again, thank you very much for joining us. This is going to be going out in video format, audio format. We're also going to be launching our blog post episode, or our blog post regarding this episode too. So that'll be going out later on this week. And if anyone has any questions, you can also find us on all the social media platforms. We're out there: YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, although Ryan's still not allowed to do his TikTok dancing. But anyways, thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon and the rest of your day. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Starting strong, we're here today. Jim and Ryan lead the way. Talking money every day. Mastering the mind's array. Dreams of wealth within our sight. Building futures burning bright. Financial talk that feels just right. Learn and grow, rise to new heights. Money mindset, mastery time. Listen close and climb the lifeline. From the dollar to the dime. Your success, it will be prime. Questions answered with a grin. Saving smart to win the win. Investing gold that's deep within. Every journey's where we begin. Balance books and watch them grow. Insight shared to make you glow. Financial wisdom here to show. Step by step on with the flow. Money mindset, mastery time. Listen close and climb the lifeline. From the dollar to the dime. Your success, it will be prime.